Welcome to Target Eye. Welcome to Target Eye. In today's video, we'll explore how the Trump administration impacted the world economy. From bold tax reforms to a trade war with China, the Trump era introduced significant shifts in global economic policy. We'll look at key actions that defined Trump's approach to international trade, how they affected major economies, and what these changes mean for global markets. Stick around as we break down the Trump administration's complex relationship with the world economy and the long-lasting effects on trade, business, and economic growth. One of the defining features of the Trump administration's impact on the world economy was the trade war with China. The administration viewed China as a threat to American economic interests, primarily because of perceived unfair trade practices, intellectual property theft, and a growing trade deficit. Key actions. Imposition of tariffs. Trump imposed tariffs on billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods, starting with steel and aluminum and expanding to a wide range of products. These tariffs were aimed at protecting American industries and forcing China to change its trade practices. Phase 1. Trade deal. In early 2020, the Trump administration negotiated a Phase 1 trade deal under which China agreed to purchase an additional $200 billion in U.S. goods and services. The deal marked a temporary halt to further tariffs, but did not fully address underlying trade issues. Global impact. Economic slowdown. The trade war contributed to a slowdown in global economic growth as the uncertainty around tariffs affected international markets and supply chains. Countries like Germany and Japan, which are major exporters, were indirectly impacted by the U.S.-China tariffs. Shift in supply chains. The tariffs prompted companies to reconsider their supply chains, with many businesses looking to diversify away from China to avoid higher import costs. This shift led to new trade opportunities for countries like Vietnam and Mexico. Pros and cons. The Trump administration argued that the tariffs protected American jobs and industries, but critics pointed out that tariffs often led to higher costs for American consumers and businesses. Another major policy was the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, TCJA, of 2017, which had significant implications for the U.S. economy and, indirectly, the global economy. Key features of the TCJA. Corporate tax reduction. The TCJA lowered the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%, aiming to make the U.S. a more attractive place for businesses to operate and invest. Tax cuts for individuals. The act also included tax cuts for individuals, although these were temporary and set to expire in 2025. The goal was to boost consumer spending and stimulate economic growth. Impact on global economy. Increased foreign investment in the U.S. The corporate tax cut made the U.S. more competitive on a global scale, attracting foreign investment. Some multinational corporations shifted operations to the U.S., seeking to benefit from the lower tax rate. Corporate stock buybacks. Following the tax cuts, many U.S.-based multinational companies used their tax savings for stock buybacks rather than expanding operations or increasing wages. While this boosted stock prices, critics argued it did little to create jobs or benefit the broader economy. Global tax competition. Other countries, particularly in Europe, felt pressure to lower their own corporate tax rates to compete with the U.S. This sparked discussions about international tax reforms, with some nations calling for minimum corporate tax rates to prevent a race to the bottom. Pros and cons. Supporters of the tax cuts argue that they led to higher business investment and economic growth, while critics contend that most of the benefits went to corporations and the wealthiest Americans. Trump's administration took a unique approach to international relations, often focusing on bilateral agreements and reshaping long-standing trade partnerships. Key actions. USMCA Agreement. Trump renegotiated the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, replacing it with the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA. This new deal aimed to improve terms for American workers, particularly in the automotive industry, and included provisions on digital trade and labor standards. Withdrawal from Trans-Pacific Partnership, TPP. Trump withdrew the U.S. from the TPP, a trade agreement with 11 Pacific Rim countries. He argued that it was unfavorable to American workers, though it left an opening for China to strengthen its ties with other Asia-Pacific economies. Tensions with European Union. The Trump administration's tariffs on steel and aluminum also affected the EU, resulting in strained trade relations. The EU retaliated with tariffs on American products, leading to a tit-for-tat scenario that hurt businesses on both sides. Global impact. New trade dynamics in North America. The USMCA updated trade rules across North America, but some sectors, such as agriculture, felt minimal change. Overall, the agreement helped stabilize relations with Canada and Mexico, providing more favorable terms for American workers. Shifting alliances in Asia. By pulling out of the TPP, Trump aimed to focus on bilateral deals, but some argue this created opportunities for China to expand its influence in the Asia-Pacific region. Trade tensions with allies. The administration's approach to tariffs not only impacted trade with adversaries, but also strained relationships with key allies, prompting calls for Europe to pursue greater economic independence. Pros and cons. Trump's supporters praised his focus on protecting American workers and industries, but critics argued that his confrontational approach alienated allies and disrupted long-standing partnerships. In conclusion, the Trump administration's impact on the world economy was marked by a shift toward economic nationalism and a focus on bilateral trade deals. Policies like the trade war with China, corporate tax cuts, and renegotiated trade agreements had mixed results, fueling both economic growth and global tensions. Whether seen as necessary reforms or disruptive moves, Trump's policies left a lasting imprint on the world economy, influencing trade dynamics, investment flows, and international relations. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about the Trump administration's impact on the global economy?